Research proposal: Vulnerable Narcissism, Conspiracy Theory Belief, and Belonging, a Mediation Study. Conspiracy theory beliefs, or CTB, are defined as the beliefs that attribute causes of salient events to the secret malevolent plotting of collective actors, and are related to poor outcomes such as support for fascist leaders and rationalizing the discrimination of minorities. Vulnerable narcissism is characterized by a defensive and insecure sense of grandiosity that is associated with shame and hypersensitivity to the evaluations of others. This is contrasted with the dominant-centric grandiose narcissism that majority of literature linking narcissism and CTB is based on. Therefore, the mechanisms underlying the association between vulnerable narcissism and CTB may differ from the ones that have been researched with grandiose narcissism. Need for belonging is one such possible mechanism and can be defined as the intrinsic drive to affiliate with others, which may drive vulnerable narcissists to engage in CTB. Only one Turkish study has explored the role of need for belonging as a mediator in the relationship between narcissism and CTB. While it yielded significant results, it had limitations, such as using a belongingness scale strongly tied to Turkish nationalism and a sample limited to only Turkey, which limits the generalizability of these findings. There's limited research isolating vulnerable narcissism as a predictor of CTB. Most studies measure it alongside grandiose and collective narcissism, potentially obscuring its unique effects. Despite several cross-sectional studies finding a positive correlation between vulnerable narcissism and CTB, moderation or mediation mechanisms behind this association remain under study. There have been experimental studies which suggest a link between social exclusion, ostracism, and increased CTB. This hints at a possible connection between social constructs like belonging and CTB. My study aims to overcome these gaps by utilizing a general group membership scale of belonging on a US sample, which increases the generalizability beyond nationalist identity and may encompass cult, pandemic-related, or religious conspiracy theories, which have important outcomes on the public. My study also focuses on vulnerable narcissism's unique predictive power on CTB, which has had limited research. Lastly, I'll be running the first study known to explore the potential mediating effect of belonging on the relationship between vulnerable narcissism and CTB. Thus, my research question is, does need for belonging explain the relationship between vulnerable narcissism and CTB? And our hypothesis is yes, need for belonging will partially mediate this relationship. My design will be a cross-sectional self-report survey hosted on Qualtrics. I'll be using cloud research for recruitment and also run mediated regressions on my data using SPSS process. Participants will all be over 18 from the US and must give consent to participate. I've assessed my design to have a low risk to ethical considerations. Participants will be informed prior regarding the research topic and are able to withdraw at any point. There will also be helplines available at the start of the survey should they feel distressed, but I do not anticipate this to be a sensitive topic. The study is considered highly feasible and will take place during teaching period 1, 2024, and will span 6 weeks. The minimum number of participants required after calculating in G-Power is 119, and I anticipate funding to recruit up to 200 participants. No other potential challenges with design or recruitment are anticipated. The scales that I will be using are the need to belong scale, hypersensitive narcissism scale, and generic conspiracy belief scale, all with high levels of validity with an alpha level of 0.7 or above. As vulnerable narcissism is still an emerging area of research, our study will offer some of the first findings on the potential mediating mechanisms underlying the relationship between vulnerable narcissism and CTB. It will also be able to support the development of the first models and subsequently interventions that target CTB predicted by vulnerable narcissism. If my findings are promising, it will support other research to replicate my findings through more complex designs, such as a between subjects or repeated measures study. Whilst implications on treatment are more distant, but if there is a mediating effect found, it may encourage further research into alternative social interventions for CTB. Our research may support development of interventions such as the social norms approach that have found significant but time-limited effects. These social interventions have the potential to overcome the shortcomings of current interventions, such as priming, which pose practical difficulties as it is a preventative measure that requires exposure prior to consuming conspiracy theory content. Thank you for listening.